I had no idea I'm enjoying the bhajans all to myself. That I was on mute. My apologies for those of you, especially who came 10-12 minutes back. Oh, प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वं सच्चित्सुखं परमहं सगतिं तुरीयम् यत्स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवैति नित्यं तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः तपोभिक्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्षोऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते बोधोऽन्यसाधनेभ्यो हि साक्षान्मोक्षैकसाधनं पाकस्य वह्निवज्ञानं विना मोक्षो न सिद्ध्यति। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। We'll chant from verse number 3 to 7. Verse number 3 to verse number 7 of chapter 9. अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि। अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि। मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थितः। मया ततमिदं सर्वं जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिना मत्स्थानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेष्वस्थिताः। न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्नच्च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः। न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभिन्नच्च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः। यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गोमहान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय। यथाकाशस्थितो नित्यं वायुः सर्वत्र गोमहान् तथा सर्वाणि भूतानि मत्स्थानीत्युपधारय। सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्। सर्वभूतानि कौन्तेय प्रकृतिं यान्ति मामिकां कल्पक्षये पुनस्तानि कल्पादौ विसृजाम्यहम्। Okay, Hari Om.
हरि ओम
हरि ओम
हरि ओम जी।
हरि ओम।
सब
हरि
गार्डन
ओम
पहुंच गई हो? कल गार्डन पहुंच गए?
हरि ओम
Hari Om. Hari Om.
हरि ओम।
Okay. So I saw that we have some activity on the group, lots of questions or some questions and some answers and things like that. And sorry, I'm like a stuck record, but I'll continue that way. That the primary manner in which, this is my personal belief and this is my personal conviction, that the primary way in which we will learn anything is if we proceed methodically, and a very essential aspect, a part of that is reading the commentary, right? And let me let out a cat out of the bag as well. You have my time, you meet me twice a week, maybe more going forward. But if you want to get more out of me, you have to ask questions. And better questions will be asked only through reading the text. Otherwise, you can just listen to me. 1 hour, I'll keep blabbering and say things that may sound good to you, or maybe, may appeal to you. But a lot more will be said or can be said if you sort of, prod through questions. And for that, I'd like to thank Rashmi ji, because, I had a beautiful time in the weekend, because her question, it's a very simple question, but just the very fact that you ask what it is, it sent me down a beautiful rabbit hole of how all can I address this, because, there are different levels at which you can answer something. So I don't know if I'll share everything with you, but at least it sent me down a beautiful rabbit hole all weekend. I was in Upanishad land when I read what I was reading. But anyway, it's very important to stick to and actually sort of proceed methodically through the commentary. And the question that was asked in the group was on verse number 2. The pure knowledge which illumines both realms of your knowledge and ignorance, the knowing principle with which you know what you know and what you do not know. It stands out supreme as the source, controller, king of all knowledges. So I'm guessing you are referring to this first paragraph itself. Yeah. And this is just an exercise of how to proceed with something. Even if you want to share a perspective to Rashmi ji, she's asked it in the group, and really, it's an open forum. Anyone is free to sort of share their perspective. But the first thing you should do, if you have a thing, okay, I have a perspective to this. If you want to share a perspective, the first thing I would do if I was in your position was to go back and read the portion where she's referencing the question from. Because there can be 100 answers to Rashmiji's question. The right answer is not the thing we are after. There's no right answer, right? But what is the author, the commentator trying to say, or what is they trying to convey in the context of the verse? That is what is important. Okay. So this particular paragraph, this section of this paragraph is coming where he's trying to describe what does it mean to be royal knowledge. Rajavidya. The very name of the chapter is Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga. The yoga of the royal knowledge, the royal secret. This knowledge that I am sharing with you, the knowledge that we are discussing through this class, is a Rajavidya. It's a royal knowledge. Now, what makes it a royal knowledge? Why is it called royal knowledge? Why is it given that pedestal? Oh, because Sri Krishna spoke it. Is that it? Everything Krishna spoke is royal knowledge then? Is that sufficient? A devotee of Krishna will say, okay, that's sufficient. Krishna spoke it, that's why it's royal knowledge. But a jnani is not satisfied with that. So, what is royal knowledge? And this is what he's trying to explain in this paragraph. The verse describes the knowledge of self as royal. Royal meaning the highest, the noblest of all knowledges. And in an absolute sense, the absolute knowledge which illumines all other knowledges. This is absolute knowledge. And we have to read between the lines, we have to try to go beyond the words, right? Which is why I'm going to spend a couple of minutes on this. The absolute knowledge which illumines all other knowledges. The self within is the supreme knowing principle supporting all knowledges. Raja Vidya, royal knowledge, is knowledge of self. This self, this Atman, this Avyakta, this unmanifest and incomprehensible self within you is the supreme knowing principle supporting all knowledges. It is that pure awareness which makes you aware of objects and beings. It's the pure consciousness which makes you conscious of perceptions, emotions, and thoughts. It's the pure knowledge which illumines the realms of knowledge and ignorance. So these three sentences you must read together, because he's trying to convey in three different strains that same idea, that the self, the Atman, the knowing principle, is different from what is known. It is that pure consciousness which is different from what you are conscious of. It is pure awareness, different and distinct from the object you are aware of. A torch light can illumine objects, right? What is the bulb? The bulb is that which shines and makes everything else visible, right? The Atman is that bulb with the help of which we are able to see everything else. So, first of all, it's the subtlest, it's the sukshma, it's the very fountainhead of awareness, of knowledge, of consciousness. That's why we call it pure consciousness. But the funny thing about the torch is that with the torch you can see everything else but the torch. The light in the, please stay with this example, okay? The light in the torch shines through the bulb and illumines everything else. Similarly, the light of consciousness shines through the mind and makes you aware of, conscious of objects and beings and feelings and emotions and desires. The light in the torch shines through the material equipments of the torch, shines through the bulb. Similarly, pure consciousness shines through the mind. The mind is like the bulb. Consciousness is like the light. The light shines through the bulb. The bulb is, in that sense, the vessel. The filament is the vessel through which light travels. Similarly, consciousness functions through the mind to make you conscious of. In the Kenopanishad, the student asks, what is pure consciousness? What is God? He says, Anya devatad viditadatho aviditadadhi. This one line mesmerized me all weekend. Rashmiji, thank you so much. I don't know if I'll be able to convey it to you because you don't have all weekend with me, but I'll try. Let me give you guys a glimpse of the Kenopanishad, which got me completely mesmerized all weekend. In verse number 4 of the Kenopanishad, mantra number 4, part 1. After the first 3 verses, the student is asked, what is God? What is pure consciousness? What is the self? What is the Atman? What is that with which everything is known? And he gives a beautiful answer in verse number 2 and 3, but I'm not going to go into that. I'm going to focus on this verse. He says, Anya deva tad vidita datho avidita dadhi. That other than the known and also beyond the unknown. Your question is, I'm sure you're not asking this. You asked a very simple question, but I went down a rabbit hole, okay? So if this is not exactly what you asked, well, take this as a bonus. That which is beyond the known and the unknown. That which is beyond what is known and also beyond what is unknown. And then he goes on to say in the next couple of verses, Yad, this verse number 6, for example, Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam viddhinedam yadidam upasate. That which cannot be visualized by the mind, but that which the mind, by which the mind visualizes. Go back to the torch example. It cannot be, the light of the torch cannot be visualized by the torch. Isn't it true? The light of the torch cannot be visualized by the torch, but the light is with which the torch actually performs its function of seeing things. So that which cannot be visualized by the mind, light is that which cannot be visualized by the torch. Similarly, the Atman is that which cannot be visualized by the mind, but that by which the mind visualizes, that by which the bulb helps us see things, the light. So your question was, what is the realm of knowledge and the realm of ignorance? That is what your simple question was. The realm of knowledge is everything you know. And the realm of ignorance is everything you don't know. Your realm of knowledge and your realm of ignorance is different from my realm of knowledge, and my realm of ignorance is different from a third person. Because this is all pieces of information we are aware of, conscious of, we have got to learn. But what he's trying to say is that all of this is not important. What you know, what you don't know is not important. Focus on what makes me know. What is that pure knowledge, that pure consciousness, that pure awareness with which I know what I know and I know what I don't know. You know Malta. Huh? You know Malta, right? It's a good season for Malta, just ending, especially if you're in Delhi. I love Malta. You know kumquat? You know kumquat? Then wrong example. You know loquat? Anjumji, you know loquats? Huh? See, in America, they know loquat. In India, they don't know what is loquat. You know Malta, you don't know loquat. They're both fruits. Anjumji knows kumquat and loquat, but perhaps she doesn't know some funny kaddu in some corner of India, In India, everything is a god.
I know what is in India also. Born and brought up there, after all.
You're a Sarvajnani. It'll be very hard to give you an example of what you don't know. What I'm trying to say is, you know what is Malta. You don't know what is loquat. You know that you know Malta. You also know that you don't know what is loquat, isn't it? You know, right, that you don't know loquat. Rashmiji, do you know loquat? No. I think you're lying. I think you're lying. How will you respond to that? You say, no, I know that I don't know this. So there is a deeper knowing within you which is aware of what you know and aware of what you don't know. There's that unconditioned awareness which is aware of what you know and aware of what you don't know. That's pointing at pure consciousness, pure knowledge. So that capacity with which you know what you know, and that capacity with which you know what you don't know. So the realm of knowledge is all the information you are familiar with. The realm of ignorance is all the information you're not familiar with. But pure consciousness, pure knowledge is that awareness of what you know and that awareness of what you don't know. These are just intellectual gymnastics by which now you're happy, now you're satisfied with the answer. So that means we've achieved our goal. This is a point of contemplation. Anya deva tad viditadato aviditadate. Iti shushruma purvesham yonas tad vyachachakshite. This is how our teachers explained it to us. The Upanishadic master is saying this is how our teachers explained it to us. Now, either you can be satisfied by this answer, or it can send you into a rapturous contemplation. You stay with this one idea and it'll mesmerize you. God is not an object of knowledge. God is not an object of perception. God is not an object of feeling. It is that subject which makes you feel. It is that subject which makes you see. It's that subject which makes you know. Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhine idam yadidam upasate. What you are doing upasana of right now out here, that's not God. Upanishad says. He blasts all your beliefs and rituals away. Blows it out of the window. 5 verses, one after another. Yad vachana bhyutitam yena vaga bhutyate tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate. Yan manasana manute yena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate. Yat chakshushana chakshu pashyati chakshu gunshi pashyati tadeva brahmatvam vidhinedam yadidam upasate. Everything, whether you are feeling, seeing, hearing, it's not what you are seeing or what you are hearing or what you're feeling, what makes you hear. That is Brahman, that is God. That is what you as a sadhak are expected to contemplate upon when you shift gears and elevate your sadhana to a subtler level. That is what you're expected to contemplate upon on Mahashivratri. The night of Mahashivratri. I'm very glad it's becoming so popular. Okay. Anyway, I have ranted enough.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Verse number 2. The royal knowledge, the royal secret, the supreme purifier is directly realizable, righteous, very easy to practice, imperishable. And we'll continue with verse number 3. I hope there were no other questions, right? I don't think there were any other questions.
So there was something you were going to explain about Adhyayana.
Adhyayan?
Sorry. Oh, Adhyayan, yeah.
No, I wasn't going to explain it. I was going to explain this. Okay. Yes, Ankit.
So in the previous class, you were speaking about the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep worlds.
Yeah.
So, as a waker, in my dream Ankit, dream Utsav, and dream object as well. Once I wake up, they're all a part of waking Ankit's mind, right? But when you wake up from the waking world, I mean, everything in my consciousness, in my waking consciousness, who or what is the entity who is sort of simulating or dreaming the waking world?
No, are you asking me this, like, who is the entity that is simulating the waking world?
Yeah.
You have to get there to find out. Your question is like the dreamer asking who is actually dreaming this dream. And it'll baffle the dreamer. Right now, waking Ankit is confidently saying, yes, everything in the dream just folded into my mind. But if you ask dream Ankit that question, so one simple answer to your question is, it's waking Ankit who's imagining this. Or realized Ankit, enlightened Ankit, who's Just as waking Ankit was imagining the dream, similarly, enlightened Ankit is imagining this waking world. Once waking Ankit catapults to that enlightened Ankit, he'll realize everything was just a fragment of. So that's one way to answer this question, but you'll also agree it's not a very satisfying answer. Vedanta says after a point, just shut up. We simply want to grab your attention with this idea. We want to show you the fragility of your own, this world you've constructed around you. We want to show you that how deeply you are entrenched in a mystery, and you should explore it. That's Vedanta's purpose, to turn you meditative. Ultimately, the answer to your question you will only find in the depth of meditation upon waking up. And scores of sages have described that state of enlightenment in deep meditation as waking up from a dream. That's how they have described it. This is the Agama, this is the tradition we have access to. So, with a sense of faith and conviction that something is to be found, we have to walk this path. But it's an open question. Short answer to your question is it's an open question.
Do you suspect on some level the waking world is actually a simulation?
If you ask me that, see, simply speaking from a sort of worldly sense, right? The kind of world we are living in right now, and immediately that has just come into our what's commonplace now, especially with the world of AI. It's not hard for a lot of people to maybe make that suspicion, right?
Yeah.
But then again, some level of intellectual cognizance of this is very different from a enlightenment of it. Keep drawing you back to that point. Okay. Because there's no way in which we can prove it actually without stepping out of this, right? We have to become sakshi, we have to become observers of what is being simulated to actually see it as a simulation, right? Just like in the Matrix, you have to come out of that world. And if you go back to the example of the Matrix, you have to come out of that world to see, oh, it's actually a simulation, right? The path of sadhana is the process to come out of that world. Sadhana is the sort of a scientific method to come out of that. And if you just break it down into bare bones, it's a beautiful journey. It's where you are literally trying to, what is the simulation? It says the simulation is nothing but a funnel of thought. It's your thoughts which is maintaining and sustaining the simulation. You can't do everything about everything in the simulation, but what you can do is try to stop this flow and see what happens. That's what's happening in meditation. You're stopping the flow. So yeah, that's the invitation of Vedanta. Yes, Siddharth.
Hari Om, sir.
Hari
Sir,
Om.
coming back to the example that you just gave to Rashmiji about the two fruits, I know what I know, and I also know what I don't know. So just now with the same metaphor, I would not know about the other fruit. I would not know that I don't know about the other fruit unless I know that it exists.
Yeah.
So that's right? So
No, that's a good point. No, that's a good point of contemplation. And again, that realm of um, that realm is automatically deduced once you are aware of what you know. Once you're aware of what you know of everything that you don't know. You may not have given it a name yet, and you may not have been made aware of its existence. And if you don't know it, you don't even know if it exists. Someone is just talking about it. Maybe I'm just making up this fruit's name. Loquat. What is it? You get it. But the point being tried to convey out here is that there is a knowing principle with which you know. That's what we're trying to point towards. What you know and what you don't know is not important. What is important is that with which you know.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Verse number 3. अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि. अश्रद्धधानाः पुरुषाः धर्मस्यास्य परन्तप अप्राप्य मां निवर्तन्ते मृत्युसंसारवर्त्मनि. He says, O Parantapa, men devoid of Shraddha in this dharma, without attaining me, return to the path of the mortal world. So we've been talking about the path of the sun and the moon in the previous chapter, towards the end of the previous chapter. And he's hinting at that again. He's going to continue that chain of thought. So he says, O scorcher of foes, Parantapa, one who makes sure that the job is done. Imagine on a battlefield, who is the most dominant fighter? Who is the person everybody is aware of and afraid of? Who is the scorcher of foes? One who gets the job done, isn't it? One who makes sure that it is done. So very interesting name used for Arjuna in this context. He says, O Parantapa, O scorcher of enemies, you are known far and wide for being a person who gets the job done, who doesn't let a single enemy go by. You have Shraddha when it comes to battle. So similarly, what is Shraddha? Shraddha is that capacity in you to take something to its conclusion, to see something to its very end, to not let go halfway, to have consistency of purpose, to remain steadfast until you reach your goal. That is Shraddha. So those devoid of Shraddha in the spiritual path, in this dharma, they don't attain me, they don't attain enlightenment. And because of that, they return to the path of the mortal world. They follow the path of the moon. Remember what I was saying? You grow a little bit, you turn complacent, again you fall. And then you turn desperate, again you grow, then you turn complacent, again you fall. The sinusoidal punarapi jananam punarapi maranam. And why do you turn complacent? Because you lack Shraddha. Because you start focusing on the wrong things. Even the spiritual path will bring you a lot of pleasure, a lot of bliss. You get lost in the pleasure, you get lost in the bliss. You get lost in the respect and the name and the adoration. You get lost in the ecstasy. Forget anybody else. In the very ecstasy of bhakti. You get lost in it. Yadi manyase suvedeti nona vedeti vedacha. Today I'm just going to keep quoting the Kenopanishad, okay? Yadi manyase suvedeti dabhrame vapi noonam tvam vetha brahmano rupam. If you think you know, then you have no idea what is Brahman. He says. Similarly, even on the spiritual journey, we start identifying with our path, our guru, our knowledge, what we think we know, and then we think we've understood, we've got it, and then we fight with others. If you think you know very little, says the Guru in Kena Upanishad. So a certain complacency, a certain satisfaction settles in you until you actually gain that final experience of enlightenment, moksha. That is ashraddha, ashraddadhanam, devoid of shraddha. You've lost track. So, O Parantapa, those who have lost track in this dharma without attaining me, they continue in this sinusoidal rise and fall. They rise to a point, and no doubt they experience certain spiritual virtues and they experience the benefits of that and they experience the joys of that, but then they turn complacent and they fall again. Throughout the spiritual path, throughout the scriptures, we've been warned about the pitfalls, about not stopping until we reach the conclusion. We have so many parables, especially when it comes to the weakness for the pleasures. Any sense pleasure, any emotional pleasure can completely stop you in your tracks. The ego is a very, very sinister thing. It'll come in unbeknownst to you. It'll creep in the form of an arrogance, in the form of a pride. Have that shraddha, that you will clean drop this ego. Not in bits, not in pieces, not in halves. You will clean drop it and you won't stop until it's done. You won't stop until you reach that complete absolute silence of meditation. As long as you have that conviction within you and you have that awareness within you at the back of your mind, you're on the right path of attaining me, he says. Otherwise, you return to the path of the mortal world. And he continues, verse number 4. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyaktamurtina matsthani sarva bhutani nachaham teshvavasthitah. All this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. All beings dwell in me and I do not dwell in them. So continuing in this sort of mystical explanation of Kalpa, Pralaya, creation, Brahma, the world, he is continuing in this explanation, saying all this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifest form. I am the Adhar that is pervading and supporting this entire world. All this world rests on me. I am the screen upon which all of this is projected. When you watch your television, notice what you are seeing is different from the screen on which you are seeing it in. This world of objects and beings is like the animations on the screen. Distinct and different from the screen, the unchanging screen. Everything on the screen is changing. People are moving, music is changing, scene is developing, light is coming, light is going. But the screen is unchanged.
Mind?
Sorry?
Is the screen the mind then?
Is the screen the mind? It's a good question. Is it? Is the mind unchanging? The mind is going through its own oscillations. Feelings of joy, feelings of sorrow. Feelings of happiness.
The movie is like the mind.
So the mind is like the subtle part of the movie. The mind is like the background score. The background music, it's not quite. So is it the screen? No, it's not the screen. So all this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. The screen is unmanifest. What do you mean by unmanifest? While the movie is on, you can't see the screen. Can you see the screen while the movie is on? Are you able to see the screen? No. What you're seeing is actually the movie. You're completely lost in the movie. So long as you're seeing the movie, the screen is unmanifest. It's not visible. It's not clearly visible to your naked eye or to your awareness. So all this world, this entire projection is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. I am the Adhar, Sarvadhar. All beings dwell in me and I do not dwell in them. So continuing that same example, everything on the screen dwells in the screen, but the screen is not in them. Prakriti is in Purusha, but Purusha is not in Prakriti. Matter lies in spirit, but spirit doesn't lie in matter. So आप जो सब कहते हो ना, सब में भगवान है, नहीं, सब भगवान में है जी. सब में भगवान नहीं है, सब भगवान में है. आपको लगता है कि भगवान आपका एक अंश है, नहीं, आप भगवान के अंश हो भाई. कहानी तो यहाँ उल्टी है. असुर को लगता है कि भगवान है ही नहीं. हम मूर्खों को लगता है कि सब में भगवान है, बट ज्ञानी को यह पता है कि सब भगवान में है. समझे बात? असुर को लगता है कि भगवान है ही नहीं, और हम मूर्ख ज्ञानियों को लगता है सब में भगवान है. सब में भगवान देखना सीखो. बट जब आप ज्ञानी बनते हो तो आपको ये आभास होता है कि सब में भगवान नहीं है, सब भगवान में है. So all beings dwell in me and I do not dwell in them. Thank you, Utsav ji. Wonderful explanation. I'm so happy. Now I have understood. Everyone understood? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah? Any questions? Any doubts? Where's Ritu ji is not here today?
Yes, sir. Utsav ji, I'm here, and in fact, I've just joined. Just got late. Yes.
Did you hear verse number 4?
Yes.
I'm remembering you because you asked a question in the last class. I remember.
No. Yes.
I don't know if you remember your question, but I remember your question.
Yes.
What was your question? You remember?
Honestly, not properly. No.
If you don't remember your question after 2 days, was it really a question? Ask yourself. This is the greatness of King Janaka. You know that? You've heard of King Janaka and Ashtavakra Gita. What is look, Rituji, I'm not picking you out. I'm just trying to convey the greatness of Janaka out here. Janaka woke up from a dream, and he had this terrible feeling, because in the dream he was dreaming himself to be a beggar. He had a question: am I the beggar who is now dreaming to be a king, or am I the king who was earlier dreaming to be a beggar? And this question was not a passing feeling, because we all have very passing questions. This question stayed with him for days, weeks, months. It completely consumed him until Ashtavakra came and gave him Brahma Vidya. So, a seeker is one who seeks, and you seek through inquiry. Your inquiry must be deep. And by deep, it means 2 things. Of course, there is a depth to a certain question, and your question was quite deep. But also, how important is that question to you? If that question is very important to you, it will eat you up. It will nibble on your soul. It will force you to seek an answer. And that's what makes a seeker a seeker. They can't help but seek. So your question, to remind you, was: can Brahman be conditioned? Can consciousness be conditioned? Remember?
Yes, of course.
The question was, can consciousness be conditioned? So what have I
Yes.
said right now? That there is a screen, and upon the screen there is a projection, and the screen is the Aadhar. So what you're seeing is a beautiful dance of Prakriti and Purusha. Purusha is the underlying Aadhar, and Prakriti is everything that is being projected upon it. The dance of Prakriti is what is being projected upon it. So you and I, we are conscious beings. We are like the torch which is seeing into the world of things and beings, and there is a light within us which is shining. Our eyes are bulbs through which we are conscious of things. So our consciousness is conditioned consciousness. Our consciousness is conditioned by our mind, conditioned by, sort of, in that sense, the bulb. What we have is conditioned consciousness. We cannot access, we cannot conceive, we cannot reach that pure consciousness. That's the mystery. What is that pure consciousness through which we are conscious of? Our minds cannot feel it, our intellects cannot conceive it. What we know, what we are accessing is conditioned consciousness. Conditioned consciousness is consciousness conditioned by objects. Anytime you say, I am conscious, what does it mean? You generally say, yes, I'm conscious of this wall in front of me. I'm conscious of your fingers in front of me. See, suppose you want to ask someone, hey, are you aware? Are you awake? How many fingers is this? Huh? Yeah, I'm conscious. What do they mean? I'm conscious of your fingers in front of me. Yeah, there are 3 fingers, man. Especially back in the day, if you were in college and one of your friends has had too much fun that night, you're shaking him. Listen, are you okay to go back home? How many fingers is this? Huh? I hope you've not had too much fun. Read between the lines. So when you say, yes, I'm conscious, what you actually mean is, I'm conscious of things around me. So what you and I call consciousness is conditioned consciousness of objects and beings. This conditioned consciousness of objects and beings arises from that pure consciousness within you. There is a pure consciousness which we call Atman, which functions through the mind and makes us conscious of. That Atman is the Aadhar, and the objects and beings are the projection on that screen, on that pure consciousness. So all beings dwell in me, and I do not dwell in them. Very good. Thank you so much. Beautiful explanation. If you feel that you've understood, wait for verse number 5.
So, but when we say that I do not exist in them, but अपने तो बोलते हैं ना कि अपने अंदर जो आत्मन है वही तो that is part भगवान ही है वो, तो फिर वो हम मेरे अंदर नहीं है, ऐसे कैसे हुआ ये बात?
असुर को लगता है भगवान है नहीं, मूर्खों को लगता है मेरे अंदर भगवान है, बट जब ज्ञान आता है, जब आप ज्ञानी बनते हो, तो आपको यह आभास होता है कि आपके अंदर भगवान नहीं है, आप भगवान में हो. So I'm not saying that God is not within you. I'm saying wake up, realize that you are within God. हाँ? आपको लगता है कि मैं अलग हूं और मेरे अंदर एक अंश भगवान है. You have that ego
और
that I am
I am
separate
part
from
of
God. You have that ego that I am separate from God. I am bigger and greater and beyond. But that, no, I'm not saying you personally, but I'm saying this is that when you say something that मेरे अंदर भगवान है,
you
it
become
almost presupposes these things. You're assuming without saying it. आप ये assume कर रहे हो कि there is something beyond what is God as well, and God is a part. So the language of contradiction, and he's very deliberately saying this. He's using the language of contradiction. Because he's challenging your preconceived notions. And wait till verse number 5. He'll completely throw you off. न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्नच्च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः न च मत्स्थानि भूतानि पश्य मे योगमैश्वरम् भूतभृन्नच्च भूतस्थः ममात्मा भूतभावनः. Nor do beings dwell in me. Behold my divine yoga, bringing forth and supporting beings, myself does not dwell in them. Nor do beings dwell in me. Nacha matsthani bhutani. What did he say in verse number 4? Matsthani sarva bhutani. In me, all beings dwell, sarva bhutani. But I don't dwell in them. So all beings dwell in me, but I don't dwell in them. What does it make you feel? Okay, thank you, Utsavji, for explaining that God is not in me, I am in God. That means I exist and I am a part of God. I am a small fragment of God. Okay. That's what you've understood. You're very happy. He says, Mudhamate. See, without saying it, he's saying it. If you read between the lines, if Vyasji was like Adi Shankaracharya, he would have said Mudhamate. Adi Shankaracharya was a little more direct. Nacha matsthani bhutani. Nor do beings dwell in me. Right now you said that I dwell in God. Now you're saying that I don't dwell in God. What do you mean? If I don't dwell in God, I'm confused now. I was thinking that I'll go and tell my whole family, today I've understood what is God. सुनिए, मैं ना आज गीता जी में बहुत अच्छी बात मैंने सीखी. भगवान हम में नहीं है, हम भगवान में हैं. मैं तो उपनिषद देने वाला था आज को पूरी फैमिली को. Actually, I should have taken this verse in the next class. I should have let you feel very proud for a couple of days. Nacha matsthani bhutani, nor do beings dwell in me. On one hand, he's saying, all beings dwell in me. I am beyond, but all beings dwell in me. All beings are a part of me. Now he's saying, nor do beings dwell in me. No. This is all coming about because of my divine yoga. Yoga Maishwaram. It is all coming about because of Maya. You believe that you are this being that is dwelling in God. You believe that you have an individuality that is distinct and different and is a part of perhaps this divinity. You believe in the existence of this individuality. And that is Maya. Beings don't dwell in me because beings don't exist. Beings have come about because of Maya. You are imagining your individuality. It's the biggest stupidity. What is an illusion? An illusion is something that does not exist, but you imagine it exists. The moment you realize that you are seeing an illusion, what do you recognize? That illusory object is not actually there. Suppose far away you're driving in Uttarakhand. Suppose you're driving in Uttarakhand and far away you're looking at the mountain. You're squinting your eyes and you see, oh, I can see there's an animal out there. And someone tells you, hey, listen, that's not an animal, that's a big rock, man. Suddenly when they tell you it's a big rock, what do you realize? Oh yeah, that's a rock, that's not an animal. The moment you see the rock, the animal disappears. The animal was the illusory object, the rock was the reality. You were ignorant of the rock and you imagined the animal. The moment you saw the rock, what happened to the animal? I, this individual, this being, is not separate from the divine, is not a part of the divine. I am an illusory projection that exists because of my ignorance of the divine. The moment I realize the divinity, this individuality disappears. Beings don't dwell in me because beings are a creation of this illusion. Individuality is a creation of this illusion. This is a divine yoga. The moment you wake up, this I completely disappears. This individual completely disappears. This nama rupa completely dissolves. So don't stay in this delusion. मैं भगवान में हूं. आप हो ही नहीं. आप हो ही नहीं. And if this makes you feel uncomfortable, that is very intentional. That is very intentional. This is not something to simply unsettle you and to leave you like this. No, it's for you. It's actually food for thought. It's to stir your contemplation further. It's only to make you realize that you actually haven't understood. And this language of contradiction is what forces us to think. On the one hand, you're saying all beings dwell in me. Now you're saying no, beings don't dwell in me. Why? Why? So this language of contradiction is very deliberate. All of this, behold, all of this is from my divine yoga, he says. Bringing forth and supporting beings. This divine yoga of kalpa and pralay, bringing forth beings and dissolving them. Right? Bringing them forth, supporting them for a certain amount of time, and then dissolving them. All of this is a divine yoga. It's Maya. Wake up. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. You have spent in this cycle, this illusory cycle of birth and death. Wake up. Myself does not dwell in them. Wake up from this reality. Verse number 6. Yathakasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya. Yathakasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matsthani tyupadharaya. As the mighty wind moving everywhere ever rests in space, even so know that all beings rest in me. Memorize this verse if you can. Yatha akasha sthito nityam vayu sarvatra go mahan. The Vayu, the mighty wind moving around from place to place, ever rests in space. Space is unmoving, and yet the moving wind rests in space. Space is unaffected by the wind. What is space? Space is sukshma, it is subtle. First of all, it is invisible. See, every other element can be sensed, can be contacted by the senses. Fire can be seen, air can be smelled, wind can be felt. But space, you can't see space, you can't hear space, you can't smell space, you can't feel space. Space is sukshma, which is why throughout the scriptures, space has been used as a metaphor for God. I am like space, and all individuals are like pots. Break the pot, what you will realize is the individual's space merges into total space. All individuals are nothing but are like pots, which is space enclosed by a temporary form. Break the form, the space merges with the total space. So you will see these kind of metaphors throughout the scripture, where space is used to compare or to convey the idea of God. Again, out here he's conveying If you're not satisfied with the screen and the animation example, here is another example for you. I am like space, and the entire creation is like wind. It's mighty, it's very expressive, it's moving everywhere, it's constantly changing. Similarly, the world appears mighty, it's inconceivable, it's infinite, it's wondrous, it has so many expressions, it's constantly changing, and yet there is that unchanging space which holds it, which supports it. Similarly, God is that unchanging, unaffected, immutable, all-pervading truth, reality, which supports this entire illusory phenomenon of this changing, magnificent world. The world is like the wind, and God is like space. So all beings, all things in beings rest in me, just as wind rests in space. The space is unaffected by anything about the wind, no matter how fast the wind is. Things and beings are affected by the wind. Huh? Everything is affected by the wind but space. Similarly, this world can affect every aspect of your material equipments. It can affect your body. Changes in heat and cold will affect your body. Changes in circumstances will affect your mind. So your body and mind are constantly subject to changes in this world. But the Atman, your true self, is like space, unaffected by the wind. In vain the envious seasons roll, who bears eternal summer in his soul. The more you connect with your Atman, the closer you get to the spiritual core of your being, the more you are able to become that unchanging space, unaffected, unaltered. That's Sakshi. We are constrained by time out here, but you're not constrained by time otherwise. So I would highly urge you, because these last couple of verses, we spend what, 10-15 minutes on them? If you're in the Vedanta Academy, verse number 5 of chapter 9 of the Bhagavad Gita will take one whole day. And Swamiji will talk and talk and talk about it. And there'll be long pauses of silence where you are left to contemplate. So if you want to recreate that, use this discussion as a springboard, but go back and perhaps read the commentary and sit in quiet contemplation. So much has been shared through contradiction, through metaphor. It's a very deep class. It's not easy. And if you are kind of lost, it's totally understandable. But this is why it is Raja Vidya. And he's trying his very best to convey it to you from all angles. He's trying to give more and more analogies. In particular, this idea of space is very beautiful. In the Upanishads, the Atman is compared, Brahman is compared to, God is compared to space, God is compared to the ocean. Anything that conveys permanence, anything that conveys infinitude. So all these metaphors from nature have been borrowed to convey this idea, all to stir your mind into contemplation, inviting you to contemplate. Gita Sugita Kartavyaha. The Gita should be heard, sung, studied. So study it. With that thought, we'll conclude today. And I'm happy to take up any questions. Anjumji, did you have a question? I thought you raised your hand in the middle somewhere.
No, it was just a thought, but it's fine. Thank you.
You can share.
Okay, going back to Shraddha. So it seems to me that Shraddha is the most pivotal thing that you can have. Because the more knowledge, the more I question, the more I read, the more I try and study, I feel I keep going down, like you said, the rabbit hole. And the more I realize I don't know shit. I don't get this. I don't know
Beep,
this.
beep. Yes.
So my ultimate thing is just lay myself down and say, show me, do what you need to do. That was what I was wanting to say.
In chapter 17, verse number 3, he says, "You are what your Shraddha is." So you've spoken his words. Krishna says in verse number 3 of chapter 17, "You are what your Shraddha is." And your Shraddha is according to your nature. So as you purify yourself, your Shraddha changes, your Shraddha evolves. Your Shraddha becomes more and more concerted towards reaching me. And Shraddha and surrender have a beautiful sort of sangathan, right? They have a beautiful sort of combination. One strengthens the other. So I feel you. I feel what you have just said. Right? Because on the one hand, the pursuit of jnanam hits a roadblock, and all you can do is just stay in ascharya bhava. The idea is not to give you answers. The idea is to only bring your awareness to the wealth of ignorance and that transcending awareness. So yeah, I feel you. Any questions or any other thoughts?
Sir, I have a question. Sir, whose mind are we talking about if it's all an illusion? Is the mind also an illusion? And where is the first thought coming from then?
Having entered the dream, you are trying to understand where did the dream come from. So Vedanta says you can't answer that question. Or one answer to your question is the kind of thoughts you're having is because of your vasanas, and your vasanas are coming from your past. How long was the past? God knows. How many kalpas? So when did the first thought come? We don't remember what happened 10 days ago. I'm telling you, this happened 10 billion trillion years ago. Suppose I give you an answer. How can we validate? How many kalpas have passed? How many pralayas have passed? How many days of Brahma have passed? So the beauty is that when you wake up, you realize the dream is only 5 minutes long. But while you're dreaming, you have a certain chronological history, a different chronological history. So the realm of time, as it were, in the dream is distinct and different from the realm of time in the waking state. Similarly, the realm of time in the enlightened state is totally different than what it is out here. Right? So if you're asking from a scale of time, when it happened, how it happened, the realm of time we have access to is not, it's inconceivable to the realm of time of enlightenment. Right? Think about it this way. When you're dreaming, it feels like you are this person who has lived 40, 50, 60 years. Actually, you've been dreaming for 3 minutes. Now, 3 minutes in which realm? 50, 60 years in which realm? Time is also a very fluid thing, right? That also is an extremely bizarre subject of contemplation. So when did it happen? Point is, you're in it. Now, do you want to come out of the soup is the question. Come out of the soup and you'll see what is the world beyond the soup. What is the reality beyond the soup? So all of Vedanta's attempts is to simply help you claw out. Yes, Chetna ji. Now, if we'll say no more, na Rashmi ji will go mad. So I'm not going to say more. Stay with the thought. Yes, Chetna ji.
Verse number 2, it says your conscience directs you towards the self within. So it is same as the mind and intellect, the conscience.
Good question. The conscience within you is that deepest voice of your Sukshma Buddhi. Okay? While your equipments are part of this illusory phenomenon, while your equipments are very much a subject of this illusory phenomenon, but they are the tools which will even help you come out of this illusion. So your conscience is first and foremost a voice of your buddhi. Okay, what we call the conscience, that deep voice within us, it's like the compass. When everything else is blurred out, and when we try to search deep within to what our quote unquote soul is telling us, that's the voice, the conscience. Now, what does it belong to? It belongs to your buddhi. And not just any buddhi, it belongs to your sukshma buddhi. So this thing called the buddhi, the intellect, your capacity to think, reason, judge, decide, contemplate, assimilate, assess, understand, question, all of this is the role of your buddhi. Your buddhi itself has two portions or two distinct facets. One is the sthula buddhi and the other is the sukshma buddhi. The sthula buddhi is the tool with which we sustain and function in the world. The tool with which we decide what to do, what not to do, how to be, who to be with, who not to be with, when to come, when to go. The tool with which we make decisions in the world, mundane decisions. And the stronger your sukshma, the stronger the sthula buddhi, the more seamless your experience in the world. If your sthula buddhi is also weak, you will be an emotional wreck. But beyond your sthula buddhi, that tool with which you navigate the world, is your sukshma buddhi. The sukshma buddhi has the same function to think, reason, contemplate, assimilate, understand. But the realm of functioning is different. The sthula buddhi is concerned with the world and its various experiences. The sukshma buddhi is concerned with the unknown realm of spiritual knowledge. It's something that wakes up only when the noise, the clutter of the sthula buddhi is contained. Which is why very few people can actually access the conscience. They think they're talking to their conscience, but they're actually talking to their mind. The conscience is a very deep voice within you. Not many people can actually access it. Only people who have reached a certain stage of purity and awareness and simplicity can actually connect with their conscience. And connect with their conscience well. So that deepest voice within you, the voice of the subtle intellect, is the conscience. The sukshma buddhi, which is concerned with truth, which is concerned with searching and seeking the spirit, that is the subtle intellect. And the subtle intellect, the voice of the subtle intellect, is the conscience. The conscience is like a compass. It's that deep voice which gives you simply a direction. Okay, this is right direction. This is north, move north. Oh, this is not north, don't go this way. It doesn't explain much. It doesn't elaborate much. It's just a compass. It just points in the right direction. Yes, Rituji.
No, just a comment. I mean, what you're just explaining. So we very casually often say that this or that person doesn't even have a conscience. So, which would just mean that that subtle aspect of the buddhi, the mind, is not maybe as evolved or,
It's
or
not accessible. Everybody has a conscience, but how drowned is it?
okay.
Your consciousness, your conscience is drowned by your desires. The more selfish, the more materialistic, the more mundane you are, the more the layers of ignorance over your conscience.
So in that case, if you're saying everybody does have a conscience, which might be led, so conscience becomes, I mean, of course, it's a very refined, very sukshma part of buddhi or mind, like you said, but it almost then seems like a part of the Atman, which is there, but you're not accessing it. So the line is very, very fine then, in that case, in that way.
And here's where I'll pause you. I mean, it's a wishful extrapolation, but yes, the conscience is perhaps that final frontier from where you catapult into enlightenment, right? But the Atman is distinct and different from matter. Conscience is still very much Prakriti, Sharira, which is distinct and different from Purusha. So the Purusha is like the sword, Prakriti is like the sheath. Perhaps the innermost layer of the sheath is the
Yes,
conscience,
yes,
if you can visualize that, right?
yes.
The final covering of the sheath. But there's always a space between sheath and sword. But reaching that depth of the conscience is all but assured that you're on the right path and you're on the path to enlightenment. So, coming back, when I say that everybody has a conscience and it's drowned, but this is the power of knowledge. Throughout the scriptures, it says knowledge can even purify the most unrighteous. In fact, in this chapter, in chapter 9 itself, the end will say, even the most unrighteous people can lift themselves up with knowledge. So that's the role of knowledge, to help you weed out your ignorance, to help you weed out your selfishness, to help you weed out your ego, and to access that deeper truth within you. Even the worst of worst creatures can lift themselves up. That's why throughout our scriptures, we are taught about asuras who eventually become enlightened. Asuras are the worst of creatures in that sense, the most egoistic creatures, but even they are capable of lifting themselves. Only to give you hope that if you think you're very far and very terrible and don't be disappointed. Knowledge is that beautiful transforming agent which will help you grow and transform yourself in unimaginable ways. Yes. Okay. Yes, Rituji, you want to say something else?
Sorry, just coming back to the thing then, no matter how fine or how close, like you just explained, the conscience and the Atman equation is, but then anyway, the conscience is also learnt and acquired then. So it is not right there. I mean, I'm sorry, but one would, just for theoretical understanding, maybe conscience is also something that you acquire. How it is. I don't know if.
Yeah, no, look, see, potato. For something that is deep within you but unknown to you, uncovering it is as good as sort of acquiring it, right?
No, so that's my thing. Is it there? Are you uncovering it? Uh, and if it is there, then how is it your mind?
No, it is there. It's just drowned. it's just drowned. Just for example, there is deep emotion in you, but when you are consumed by superficial thought, that deep emotion doesn't manifest. Sometimes something very a strong experience needs to occur to wake someone up from their superficiality. So that emotion was within them. It was just unmanifest or unexplored or inaccessible. Right?
So
So the reason the conscience is inaccessible to you is because you're too consumed by mundane preoccupations. You're too consumed by instant gratification. You're too consumed by catering to the ego and egocentric desires. When I'm saying you, I'm not saying per se you, I'm talking about all of
no,
humanity, all of us.
I get that.
So the more you simplify, the more you clear, the more you cleanse that, the more this conscience becomes available to you. It unfolds layer by layer, right?
Uh,
And that discovery itself is like an acquisition, right? So all we're trying to say is that you don't have to, it's not about gaining something from outside. It's there, it's just inaccessible to you. And people can spend their whole lives without accessing their conscience. People can pass their lives without accessing their conscience.
So, if I may ask, so I'm confused here in the basic thing. If it is there and we are not accessing it, right? So in that case, even the mind is there, we are not accessing it. Everybody. So if someone is a very well-read person, you are accessing your mind. I mean, okay, I'm confusing. I mean, and every individual. I mean, it is an upward thing, right? It is an ascending order, coming from your sthul buddhi to sukshma buddhi to conscience in that series.
You can see it as an ascending order. You can see it as digging deeper, right? Both metaphors work. But all we're trying to say is that it is not something that has to be acquired from outside, right? It is not something that you don't already have. It's just that you are unaware of the wealth that you have within you. You are Amritasya Putra. But you have limited yourself into this fractional, egoistic, selfish, limited being. The more you expand, the more you uncover the divinity within you, the more you'll realize that spiritual wealth which already lies there. Every person is a divinity in disguise. And that's
So
the
from
message
my
of the scripture.
understanding, can we say that the transition between animal to humans, let's say, like that unraveling, let's say, or forget the animal thing, even in human beings, we say someone is so much like an animal, meaning unevolved, one would loosely also say. So it's all a matter of unraveling even the mind is my thing, the question.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely. See, you can use an iPhone just for making phone calls. You can use an iPhone just for making phone calls. But is that the limitation of an iPhone? It's the limitation of the way in which you're using it. With an iPhone, you can do amazing technological things and become a billionaire. That's the capability of that one device. But if you are just using it to make phone calls, is that the iPhone's problem? So you've been given this sharira, this nara sharira. नर शरीर अनमोल प्रभु कृपा से पाया है. ये जो नर शरीर है आपने प्रभु कृपा से पाया है, मतलब ये अनमोल है. It's inconceivable wealth, but you are simply using it to chalao your ulta buddhi, to gain a little bit of success and name and fame and pleasure out here. It's like using an iPhone just to make calls. you're not discovering what this being is capable of, right? And that's the purpose of the spiritual journey, to unravel and expand you. You think it's expansion, but actually it's just unraveling.
Mm.
Brihat Manaha. Who is a Brahmin? A Brahmin is one who expands their mind through this self-discovery, through this inner discovery. So the funny thing is, the more you go deeper, the more you expand. Okay, that's enough for today, and we'll see you again on Thursday. Hari Om. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Hari Om.